Well, fans of the Tragically Hip mourning Gord Downey today, and Bob Cajun, one of their most beautiful songs, and Stan is calling from that Ontario town. Go ahead, Stan. No, I think we lost. Oh, hi, Stan. Go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, I wondered if you could have your comments on AT&T, and the market on it has been pretty lousy of late, and but it pays a good dividend, and also they're going to take over Time Warner. I want just appreciate your thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, AT&T.
So Stan, to understand AT&T, it's really worthwhile to look at the whole sector. And the whole sector, if you punched in IYZ, which is the telco ETF, really looks pretty sick as well. Wireline telecom is not an attractive business right now. And this is going to be an important conversation to have over the next while when people say, but the yield is good. If you own a 10-year bond and you think that the yield is good, it could get a lot better, but that'll mean the price is going down, right? And the total return is zero. Just to put a point on that, rates started to rise in the late 1940s in the last rate cycle. The 1950s, the total return on the 10-year bond per year was minus 0.4 of 1%.
Negative yields.
Negative was the total return. The
total
income
return,
you got paid
minus
what you lost in your capital. Okay?
Right, yeah.
The 10-year return in the next decade was 1.4. So if you did the math, you're like at a half of 1% a year over 20 years. Okay?
So bonds can be.
So you don't want to own things that act like bonds if we get rising rates, and if there's no growth and it's paying you yield, that's trading like a bond. So just be careful with these things and getting caught up with the idea that the yield is good, so I don't care about the business. The business matters. And this one's not a great business.
Right. The yield off that ETF apparently about 3.3%. But isn't there the logic that if I buy the stock and I don't sell it, that I'm going to go on collecting that yield on my initial price?
Except the stock is like a perpetual bond. Like you don't have a redemption date.
Yeah.
So if rates went, over time, like from late 1940s to the mid 60s, rates went from 1.8 to 6.6. During that period, if you got the bond, yes, you got your interest. Okay? If you bought the stock market, it went up 19% a year over 15 years.
Yeah, I'm looking at the yield on AT&T itself, according to Google Finance, is now 5.5%. So
Do we think this is going to be a growing business?
There's been a price war anyway in America, certainly in the wireless space. Yeah.
Right, but wireline is not a great business.
We've got Barbara calling. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, David. You're my guru for investments. I have a question with regard to what might be a good stock, or if not a stock, then an ETF for medical devices. I regret not having bought Stryker in the past, but more importantly, I'd like to know what you think about the sector and if you have a pick for me currently.
So Barbara, yeah, I continue to really like medical devices as a sector. In fact, if you punched up IHI, which is the medical device iShares, you would see it had a wonderful rally through 2016 into July of 17, and since then has consolidated sideways and is like within a whisper of breaking out to a new high. So this group is a little bit more economically sensitive than, say, Big Pharma, because more of these things are paid for by people who have confidence to buy, right? So I like that whole sector. You can buy the whole sector with that. We own Stryker. Would continue to buy Stryker here. Stryker, of course, makes hips and knees, and we got a lot of aging folks that need those. And it's trading basically after consolidating, similar to that IHI chart, traded at a new high today, and relative strength is strong versus the market. So I'd buy Stryker now.
Okay, the calls are piling up, but we're going to have the market call minute in a second, but let's get in one regular caller, Jeff in Burlington. Go ahead, please.
Hi, David. Thanks for taking my call. We're experiencing synchronized global growth, and the travel sector is what I'm interested in. I like buying stocks after 52-week highs and all-time highs. How about Priceline.com? Will it go to $2,500 a share? Thanks so much.
Great. Thanks for the call. We really like internet retail, one of the secular themes that we're invested in. When consumers have money today, they do a couple of things with it, but one of them they do is leisure and travel, and Priceline is sort of that company in the group. So stock pulled back, again, to the 150-day moving average twice through the course of the summer, is hooked higher. I think it looks fine. The only thing that I would say is that the gap that they had lower at the end of July was that on their quarterly result. So, you know, we're going to see their quarterly result coming up. I would bet on the company. I think that this is a great business and a good way to participate.
As promised, let's get to that market call minute. Is it a buy, a sell, or a hold? And do you hold it, David? Apple, let's kick off with that.
Okay, so you're making a bet here on the future of augmented reality, which is what they've done with their phones. They're the first mover. It's a first mover advantage. Morgan Stanley estimates a $400 billion opportunity in that space. I'd be a buyer, and we own it.
Terry, thanks for that question. Jim in Comox would like to know about West Fraser Timber. That's had a run.
Okay, so I've owned the CUT, the Timber ETF, all year. We also own some Louisiana Pacific. I really like the home building industry in the U.S. and materials to go into home building, and West Fraser fits in there.
So you'd be a buyer?
I'd be a buyer.
Okay. Naz in Burnaby wants to know about Alibaba.
Well, listen, you know, if you believe in online retail, you have to believe in Alibaba. They control China. They have the opportunity to become the world's biggest payments company. Just think about that for a minute. Because of the platform that they have, and that will be the next big business for them. I think this is one. The risk is, of course, political risk. It's in China. You never know what can happen. So it's a position, but I think this is one you kind of have to own.
You have to own. Barbara in Vancouver is asking about Allergan.
Yeah, this is a broken stock. I would sell it and move on.
Okay, on that note, we are going to take a break, and we're going to have David's top picks coming at you right after this.